Welcome back, episode 2.
So today we're talking about karma.
This is Lindsay's favorite chapter.
It is. I just love karma. I don't love karma because sometimes, like the karmic debt I have is not fun to reap the balancing action, and I love talking about karma. I just love karma.
I think I love karma. I think I love karma because I can trust it.
Yeah.
And
It's like gravity.
I think I trust karma more than gravity. For real, because I feel like there's nothing. It's like, sometimes like I'll have these like, what if one day gravity was just like, I'm done. But, not to scare anybody, but like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, but karma feels like just in my soul. Like, I just feel like karma is like the intention that I create with something is what I'm going to receive. And it's like
a boomerang. It's coming back. If you know how to throw it. Okay, so it's not like a boomerang, but
it's a grounding force. Karma gives me roots in this experience.
Yeah.
Karma gives me purpose to see that if I put out love, I get love.
Yeah.
To see that if my intention is to see beauty, I see beauty and know beauty in the world. And if I put out hate and jealousy, then I'm going to my experience is going to be painted that way. And so I think I love karma because it's like, oh, I get choice.
Yeah.
And if something's happening to me, something has happened to, this is an energetic balance.
Yeah.
Because it's not the thing that's happening that's the karma, it's my experience of the thing that's happening is the karma. And then it's what I create from that point is also the seeds for what's in the future. So from that perspective, karma is like dope.
Let's do a quick breakdown of karma because there's a lot of culturally right now we use the phrase karma a lot. You hear like karma's a bitch. Like that's karma.
So on the sheet, that big quote.
All right,
the
this
longest
one?
Yeah.
Okay. This is from chapter 2, The Seat of the Soul. Every action, thought, and feeling is motivated by an intention. And that intention is one that exists as one that exists with.
Pass it.
There's some typos. Before we go to that quote, let me go in on my own here on karma. I started reading that and was like, I'm not committed to this. Let's do the Lindsay freestyle of karma to start.
Okay. What is karma?
All right, so what is karma? Karma is a law of the universe. Just like a law of the earth is gravity. Karma is impersonal. Karma is not a judgment system. So just like gravity is impersonal, it's not taking it out harder on some beings than others. Karma is impersonal. Karma is the balancing action of the universe. Karma is both in a, we'll use the phrase positive and negative balancing action. So I can do something amazing, something generous, let's say, and the karma of generosity will come back to me. It is the law that whatever I put into the world, I will receive back from the world. It is a, I can't remember the name of the deity in Hinduism who's like the universal accountant who is like looking over your books, your sheets, your all your karmic doings to balance you out. And karma in the conversation of reincarnation is also expands past one individual lifetime. So I may become karmically indebted in a previous life where I was selfish and greedy to the extent that I was not able to balance all that energy in one life. So then I may come into the next life, well, I will, and receive some of the karmic response, the balancing energy, and experience things in this life that seem to be unfair, to seem to be out of nowhere, that can be that balancing.
Will you talk about
yeah.
Will you talk about why karma is not a word to use for morality? Why karma has nothing to do with something being like moral or immoral?
Yeah.
Talk about the difference between like morality and karma.
Yeah. Let me see here. So like, ask me that in another way, will you?
Okay, so karma is a law of the universe. Morality is maybe like a judgment. Morality is maybe like this was moral or this was immoral. And I think sometimes we use like morality and ethics versus like good karma, even like good karma, bad karma. You know?
Yeah. Well, I think like, you know, I've only been alive for as long as I've been alive, but from my experience of being in the US, it seems like karma had this surgence of popularity in just the phrase, and people were using it to describe like when something bad happens to someone, and maybe someone you don't like, and you're like, karma. It's like a politician gets sick and you're like, karma. And so I think that came with this like, I think that came with this like karma as this like judge or like this court that like, oh, it's karma. And I think karma, just like we use, like we talk about an element, we talk about water, or we talk about fire, like it's unassigned, like fire as being, I mean, we could have conversations about the amazing things fire has done, and we can have conversations about the perceiving of like, oh, I can't believe that happened and fire did that. But it's not like, it's not a moral thing. Like fire is not good, not bad.
And it's also not a judge or a judgment.
Yeah.
It is a balance. And from in chapter 2, titled Karma, Gary talks about when you see the events happening in your own or someone else's life, you cannot judge, oh, bad karma because this thing happened to them, because you do not know what the balancing act of that is in the universe.
Yeah.
And also, I'll take it further that if I see something happen to you and I judge it, first off, I'm creating bad karma for myself right then and right there.
Yeah. Well, like something else too that I want to like demystify the karma, like what it's like the karma illusion that's been created. It's like karma is not like the Grim Reaper, or the idea I have of the Grim Reaper who like shows up sometimes and it's like, oh, it's your turn to be like judged by karma. It's every action we take, every thought we have. There's no such thing as existing without generating karmic impact. It's like, it's not just here sometimes. Like, oh, karma just came in, act right.
It's
every thought I have has a karmic response. It's like, oh God, oh God.
So in episode 1 of in podcast episode 1 on evolution, we talked about the splintered psyche, and my splintered psyche is about to reread this definition.
Please.
And there's a part of me that wants to give the people the quote that I feel like hits the hardest. Mm-hmm. The part of me that's coming from love. Mm-hmm. The part of me that wants to push this production forward. We're doing what we love, in love, creating something of value. Then there's the part of me that wants to read this to see if there's really typos in it.
Yeah, I want you to do that too.
All right. Gary writes, every action, thought, and feeling is motivated by an intention. Yeah, it's by, I typed by and intention. And it's supposed to be an intention.
It's not done yet.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And that intention is one that exists as one that exists within us. Wow, yeah, that makes no sense. Okay. All right. Redo. Every action, thought, and feeling is motivated by an intention, and that intention is one that exists with an effect. If we participate in the cause, it is not possible for us not to participate in the effect. In this most profound way, we are held responsible for our every action, thought, and feeling, which is to say, for our every intention. We ourselves shall partake in the fruit of every intention. It is, therefore, wise for us to become aware of the many intentions that inform our experience, to sort out which intentions produce which effects, and to choose our intentions according to the effects we desire to produce.
Thank you for
You know
reading
what I'm
that.
saying? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. There's so much. Let's go into intention. So I'm reminded from chapter 2 and Gary talking about karma is that like the intention trumps the action in what the karmic response is going to be.
Gosh. I mean, look, I got so much experience in life trying to act like a good person, trying to act like a leader, trying to act like a good guy. And like this chapter gets right down to what I know is true. And it's like the intention. So if the acting good, whatever I perceive as good, if it's an act to manipulate or sell you or sell somebody who walks in here to Kali as a student to sell them on a perception of me, I don't get the karma of good person. I get the karma of acting in a manipulative way. That's what I get. And that karma could play out like people doing that to me. It could and has played out as, it's funny because you and I were in the car talking to my dad about this yesterday. Shout out to Bootsy. That karma can play out like whenever I am talking to someone, I'm not receiving who they're being at face value. I'm receiving the karma of looking for how they're trying to sell me on who they are, how they're trying to be different. And so yeah, there are no good or bad external actions that can just be judged as good and bad for like what it is. The intention is what the karmic cycle is created from.
And the intention, like, let's say from an, okay, so for me, the intention can be about, like, I'll say like the like shadowy intention can be about like, here's how I want other people to perceive me. Here's how I want to be experienced by others. And for me, it's also playing that game of here's how I want to perceive myself. And I'll use the example because this it's a great one because it's this like tug of morality. Who am I? Who are they? Of someone with a sign asking for money at a highway ramp. The moment of, do I give this person money? All of the stuff that comes up in that. And Gary, I can't remember if Gary uses this example or he uses the example of choosing whether to let someone go from a job or not. But it's the moment of like, okay, let's say I hand that person the money and my intention was about me wanting to perceive me as a good person. That has a different karmic impact than me giving money from love.
And to like already here in chapter 2, I don't even think in this chapter he talks about how karma impacts your it can impact one's like awareness and understanding of the pursuit for external power or the pursuit for authentic power. However, whenever you were just making the share about like, do I pay the person, do I give money to the person at the red light before I go onto the highway ramp? What I got was like, oh yeah, the authentic power is the awareness of intention, and the movement away from external power is just seeing how, for myself, I say, if I give this person money, I'm a good person. Or if I don't give this person money, I'm a good person because I'm making them do it on their own.
Yeah.
Even like playing out who I'm going to be, and that's what it makes me, is external.
Yeah.
And like, I like that because like we're all like living in the awareness of intention as karma is a huge movement to sitting yourself in authentic power.
Yeah. And it's cash karma. Okay, so there are instances in life, I've experienced instances of what I've heard described as cash karma, which is when the karmic payout is immediate. It's like, I'm sure, I can't remember a specific example. I know this has happened with you and I, Chris, where I've made fun of you for something, or I've like said something snarky and gone to walk off and tripped or stubbed my toe into the couch.
Yeah, I love it.
And so that's like the descriptor is like cash karma. It's like what you did, and then the immediate.
Yeah.
The immediate.
It's like a karma scratch off card.
Yeah, it's just right. It's all right there. It's so clear to see. What a gift. And also, like, my experience of most of my life has not been that clear of like, this is happening because I did this. This is the response of the action I participated in, and now the response I receive from that. And I like to remind myself of that because in some of the conversations we've had recently, I'm learning to take a lot of comfort in I have no idea what's going on here mathematically in the astronomical karmic debt play out. I have no idea. And with that, like, I don't have to figure out why something's happening. I don't have to, the phrase like you're working above your pay grade. Like, I don't have to understand it all. And that's a huge relief to me that takes me into the seat of, okay, whatever it is right now, I get the choice of how I respond now, which is the intention and the direction that the karmic response goes from here.
Love that you brought that up, Lindsay. Like, if you're listening to this and you find yourself in a spiral of like, something horrible has happened in my life, or something horrible is currently happening in my life, it is not, this chapter is not telling you to go analyze the extremely difficult thing you're experiencing and learn what you did wrong to make it happen. It's not about going back into your childhood and being like, oh, this is why this happened. This is why that happened. It's not about that. The karma and the freedom and the choice that we get, is you just described, is I can choose how to respond to that event from right now. From right now, I can choose who I am. I can choose the learnings. And this is grace. This is what I describe as grace. Like, I can choose to open myself to the learnings that come from any painful, debilitating, heartbreaking event in life. My perception of that event and how I respond to that event moving forward, and the intentions that I create in the world moving forward, that's the activation of karma.
Yeah.
And it's not our job to be above our pay grade
Yeah.
and look at our life or
Other
anybody
people's.
else's life and say, this is why this happened to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Preach.
Yeah.
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 There's something else I wanted to share with you on karma. It'll come back to me and what you got.
Let's see. I got a couple notes from the chapter. So early on in this chapter, Gary goes ahead and say, all right, I'm about to hit y'all with this reincarnation.
Yeah.
The soul makes a decision to drastically reduce and condense its energy and come into a physical form. Coming into physical form serves the next step in that soul's evolution or healing. I like the term evolution more than healing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm
Everybody
with you there.
say what you want. Gary goes on to contextualize that. And earlier you were talking about like past life and like true or yes in the sense of like past life is not where I'm at now, and personality operates in time and space. Soul operates in, like, if I have a vision or a dream or something, or an intuitive knowing that, oh, this was in a past life, there was no beginning and end. Like, past lives and future lives are all happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's all and my awareness is rooted in right now. I'm Chris sitting in here with Lindsay and Key and Cashew.
Mm-hmm.
However, the past lives that some are in, I don't know, 100 BC and 1649 and 3020, those are happening in the moment. And and the karma I'm creating in this life is also being felt by all the other, let's just say, Chris souls that are happening. So, reincarnation and karma.
Reincarnation and karma, it's I've spent time with reincarnation. Let me backtrack and say, in growing up in school age, the idea of reincarnation was never introduced to me. It was like very Eminem style. You only get one shot. And so, but once getting into my own spiritual practice, like, I've had a lot of time reading about reincarnation, sitting with my own experiences, sitting with my own intuitive space. And so I love reading about reincarnation. I love the idea of reincarnation. I love exploring that as a possibility because, well, it like brings in compassion for me. It's like, okay, it takes away some of my own fear of I gotta do this right now, right? And still, like, I do want to call myself to the best I can do in this experience, human as Lindsay Crisp. And
can I interrupt you for a second? I want any listener who has like resistance for whatever reason to incarnation.
Reincarnation.
What did I say?
Incarnation. They were like, we're incarnated already.
Yeah, if you're incarnated, if you're listening, or watching.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I actually don't know.
I want the listener or the viewer with resistance to reincarnation not to like believe us or believe Gary. Like, I want you to come to these ideas and see how it lands in your body and see how it feels as to why, if you believe that this life was it and the only one and there's nothing after this, there was never anything before this. And if you hold that as a belief, simply see like why am I believing this, and or why does the thought of reincarnation threaten me or threaten what I believe in? And then I want the same person who's having that resistance, to take the exercise of saying, how do I feel to consider that me becoming human was not the beginning, and this human life ending is not the end. And I wanted to insert that because I do think that reincarnation is still I feel like there are still many people who like don't want to believe that or accept that, or may struggle with that, or who may think that like believing in reincarnation may mean they're going against their religion or something like that.
Which I do think it's possible to read this book and not agree with reincarnation as a life cycle process, because the pattern of reincarnating shows up in one life cycle too. It's like we go to bed at night. That's a symbolic dying off, and we wake up a new day, we say.
Thoughts reincarnate. Obsessive perspectives reincarnate.
So like in that reincarnation, the karma of even just a Monday to a Tuesday, well, the choices I make on Monday, how I eat, what I view, I'm going to, even from day to day, could experience, like if I eat a bunch of chocolate right before I go to bed, well, the next day my sugar is going to be all off and I'm going to not feel good. Like that's like the karma is happening in a smaller pattern of reincarnation. So I think it's possible to read this and say, well, hey, I'm not comfortable with reincarnation over a life period yet. And like cosmic patterns, we can boil them down to so small. Like even us taking inhales and exhales as we do this podcast is a reincarnation. It's a cycling.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because, well, for one, I mean, let me keep it a buck. I believe in reincarnation because, like, I see the pattern of reincarnation across life. So I see it. And, like, I feel this law play out. Like, I feel that if I make decisions at 10 p.m. tonight, they're going to have an impact on me at 6 a.m. And in that, like, I believe that there is a reason, multiple reasons, way more reasons than I even know about yet, why I have the struggles and perspectives and personality and biases and life events that I've had up to this point in my life.
I believe I have way more internal work to do than can happen in one life. Humbly, like that's like when I'm really looking at like where there is to evolve for my soul, like I might need more time.
And you got it.
And I got it. One thing I want to bring up, what was it? Reincarnation. Oh, here's a like hot take. I believe it's chapter 2. Gary brings it up, and I remember reading it and going like, "Oh, some people are gonna have a hard time," and I'm some people. I had a hard time. He talks about karma. So you mentioned earlier, Chris, like karma is not like a judgment. Karma is not a court ruling. Karma is not even a good or bad, and we use that to talk about it because it's like we can color things really broadly when we use good and bad and positive and negative. And if we simply say karma is the receiving of the seed you planted, you reap what you sow. Like, Gary makes the point that like us as individuals, it's not our job to judge whether something is good or bad for another human, and to judge whether something is just or unjust. If we believe that the universe is a compassionate force, we believe that karma is working to map out an evolution far beyond our understanding. And this is the hot take he was mentioning, I believe, like seeing someone living on the streets, underfed, underclothed, and our response as an individual to say, I feel bad for that person. And this was where I was reading it and I was like, Oh, Gary, be careful, Gary. Because like the offering was to perceive, and this whole book is to perceive everything in the world, every experience I'm having, every experience you're having, as divinely orchestrated for your and my, it's all connected, evolution. So that like that offering up, that I choose how I respond to anyone. I choose to what my intentions are. He wasn't saying don't be kind to people. He wasn't saying don't be compassionate. But don't also, what I read was don't be the person who walks around and says, well, what's happening to you is not fair. What do you got there?
Well, gosh, a lot. I got a lot. Like my heart just went like in a bunch of different spaces, because I think about like the actual cruel and unfair things that I can think about that have happened to a given population on this planet, that are happening in certain countries, and yeah, it is a ongoing challenge for me to live in, know those things do not feel right. Know those things. I hurt for those human beings, and I want to be a role in changing those, and also hold that there's some purpose for it happening.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's not to say that like this should keep happening on the planet. It's like even my witnessing of the cruel thing happening has purpose. And yeah, there's like I don't feel like I have the capacity. I don't feel like I have the capacity.
It's very layered.
Yeah, I don't feel like I have the capacity.
We talked about in episode 1 of this podcast that anything in the external world is not separate from the internal world. It's like anything I'm seeing in the world that's going on that I say that's unfair, that's unjust, or that shouldn't be that way. That's violence, or that's anger, that's greed. Having that like evolutionary mindset where I'm taking accountability for myself and really experiencing my world as anything that's happening is happening, like it's part of me.
I think like I think like accepting, embodying this view that there's a part of me that sees that as evil. Mm-hmm. I think that is empowering. Even like that then empowers me of how to behave, how to respond to the thing that I get passionately emotional about as being wrong or unjust. Because that's not to say that I don't act on it. Mm-hmm. However, I think I act differently. I act more from a more wise space of what I choose to do when I see that person as, or that nation, like manifesting brutalities or injustices that are present in my personality. Mm-hmm. And I think that informs, that is not to say I do nothing.
Right.
That's to say, even in my being at the cause of change, I'm coming from a place of, I know that part of me too.
Well, you're coming from a place of love then.
Yeah.
And that's a tall order.
Well, and that's like still, like, it can feel good to feel like I'm going to stop that because that is wrong and those people are wrong.
Justified in anger.
Yeah.
Yeah. We could do 7 podcasts alone on the last 2 minutes. I mean, that runs so deep, and it's
But I mean, like we're doing this, and I love that I'm doing this with you, Lindsay, and like we're here to like open up big cans of worms.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing this podcast to be no like cookie cutter, say the things that like this is really real, and like it's really real that I think that people with a heart for growth and service in our world, myself at the core of that, I want to learn how to create change and emanate love without making others wrong or bad.
Yeah. So that goes to the path of evolution. Like we mentioned, like you and I have talked about this before, and Gary talks about this in the book, that like we're all going in the direction of growth. We're all evolving. There's like, this is the new growth of the human, is to be a multi-sensory being. And we have in this life, in this moment, in this now, always the choice to grow through the path of love or to grow through the path of pain. And like, so I think about that when I think about like me getting angry about things that are going ways. I mean, that could be micro. Someone didn't do a task, didn't clean the bathrooms. That one comes up for me. Didn't clean the bathrooms the way I think the bathrooms should be cleaned, or the way I clean the bathrooms here. Like, I can get angry and learn through that path, which I'll be angry more often. I'll have the pain. There's pain. No one can tell me there's not pain to being consistently angry, because I have been angry for long stretches of time throughout my life. So there's pain. And it's still an evolutionary path. And so like the person and me, when I'm that person who's angry about something I deem as wrong, who's choosing anger, like I'm still going to grow. The pain, I mean, I experienced this with caffeine, like over drinking caffeine, there's a pain. And that pain's also my teacher, just as much as me choosing the path of love. Now, the path of love has far less pain. It's scary because I don't I'm just like not as practiced at it, I think. But like, so what I heard in us talking about like how we respond, or how anyone responds to something that needs to be different, is like, okay, we all have, am I going to choose the path of pain, or am I going to choose the path of love?
And automatically choosing love is empowering, even when it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Even whenever you make me so damn mad.
I make you mad?
Even whenever I get so mad. And I wasn't made to be mad. Mm-hmm. When I choose love, the loving hard conversation, or the loving apology, or the loving seeing the murderer as human,
mm-hmm.
the loving seeing my perception of racist person, seeing the prejudice part of me.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not easy, and it feels empowering. It feels disempowering to make things other people's fault, or you made me mad.
Yeah.
And I think choosing love in our living in the sea of karma is choosing authentic power.
Yeah.
Or evolving consciously or evolving unconsciously.
It's so interesting because to me, right at first, when I'm like staring over the edge of I'm about to choose love, it feels like it's about to be so disempowering. Like that's what the whispers, the lies will say, like
from the personality.
Yeah.
From the 5 sensors.
Oh yeah. It'll say, well, if you say sorry, Chris is just going to start walking all over you. You're going to have no power in this relationship. And so to hear you say like, it's empowering to choose love. Absolutely. And it takes me doing it to feel that. Cause if I hang back at that edge and try to feel out, well, it's like, at the edge of choosing love, anger feels like it'd be so much more powerful.
Yeah.
Being right feels like it'd be so much more powerful. So it's like hearing that, like, thank you. And just like looking for those small opportunities to choose love so I can repeat that pattern and grow trust in that pattern. So it's like when it gets to the big stuff, I'm like, well, I know if I just go ahead and jump off into love, it'll be fine. But boy.
Yeah. 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 Create from love, y'all.
All right. Well, that's what we got for karma. I mean, there's so much more we could keep going.
But I think Key's camera just died. So y'all gonna see the last few minutes of this podcast from a different camera shot. So yeah, we could go on and on, but I think we should cut it for now.
Yeah.
All right. See y'all next time.
All right. Namaste.